Her story.
Her story. It's her story.
Her story. It's my story.
Her story.
Her story.
Her story. It is my story.
Her story.
Her story.
My story.
Her story. It is her story. It's not his story, but her story.
Yeah, it's definitely, it has elements of sex in it. Okay, basically it's based in a massage parlor, which also works as a sex parlor, I guess. A brothel as well, you know, which is very common actually in Malaysia, but people don't really talk about it. You can always ask for the extras, right, and that's what you get. So this is about this woman. This is from a true story, and this is her own experience of how she got involved with sex and drugs. Yeah.
It's essentially a prose poem. It's constructed as a piece of text, which is loosely written about love and longing and desire. It's from the point of view of a very young girl who is in love, very, very much in love, and looks at separation as in a sort of very Platonic Greek sense. The situation where she's trapped from her lover, separated from her lover who is somewhere else and she's here. And so that the prose deals with that, with longing and loss and desire, and you know how you want to be reconnected again. The visuals are going to be, I'm not using any actors. The visuals are going to be constructed and devised from scratch. We are using stills from the 60s, and my visual director, Sharifah Amani, is going to be creating some very interesting things for us to look at.
That you want to achieve here by making all these movies?
We get more stories.
Yeah. I mean, this is just the beginning, you know. I think it's not easy to bare your bones and bare your soul, and to be honest, in a public realm, because you always risk being judged, or you know, people are going to say, "Oh my God," you know, like "Wow," or "Ooh." But that's besides the point. I think we want to listen to more female narratives, and as filmmakers, you know, and I'm also a writer, so it's my job to realize this story, and to let women know that there's nothing to be ashamed of. It's okay. It's all okay. We're women. We understand, and to make it accessible to a larger audience, which is what is very pressing right now, because we keep things to ourselves. We don't share. We're ashamed or whatever. So these stories are not necessarily happy stories. There's some painful stories as well. But I think it'll touch a chord in a lot of people. Yeah.
So I don't know, sometimes I feel like it's regressing, because when you talk to my grandma and my mothers and you watch P. Ramlee movies, you feel like women had like so much more roles and autonomy back then in regards to themselves, especially.
Power and control, you know, just even down to what they could wear.
Yeah.
You know, and now it's you can't wear this, you can't wear that, you can't show this, you can't show that. But in those days it was really, you know, they flaunted it. If they had curves, they showed curves, you know. I don't know, I agree with you. I think it's sort of, we're being pulled in different directions. We're being pulled to become more liberal and to sort of embrace liberalism and the West, and to conform to, you know, what is modern and what is acceptable. But there is also another, there's also another pull backwards. And also it's the Islamization of the country. So we're being pulled in a lot of directions, and I think women are kind of stuck in between this sort of mire of this gray area of what is not known. There's a lot of unknown territories at the moment, so we're kind of like floundering, I think.
But it seems like it could also be like a really exciting space.
Yes, it is.
Where you can sort of recreate or find yourself.
It's like an antithesis.
Yeah, you can probably
it's
like
pushing the bar. It's making things possible, because you know, a lot of Malaysia is a very young country. There's a lot of things that you know haven't really been done yet. So we are trying to create new narratives. I mean, we are hoping to get a group of women who are open enough and interested enough and aware enough to talk about their stories. I think there is a certain level of transformation that has to happen within a certain woman, within an individual, before you're ready to tell that story. And that's when the personal becomes political. You know, you have to even though you've been raped or you know you're or whatever, but it has to come to a point where you are finally ready and to move on and to tell the story and to leave the past behind, not carry it with you, and it transforms into something else. You see, so this is what we're hoping for. We can get a group of women who are already at that point, so it's not so hard to like dig and dig and dig, because there's not going to be much time, and to create an environment that is trusting, and you know we basically have a sense of solidarity, and we can just talk about our stories and create something out of it, whether it's a monologue or whether it's a spoken piece or
I don't know, but I think in transformation, I think art do hold a special place in opening that particular mindset, or even just like pushing the boundaries. I think that's where arts and films and all the other art form gets to do, that is different from where political activism gets to do, you know, where you actually reach out to the heart of people and transform people from within, instead of changing the actual structure and all that from without. I think that's really special, because reaching to the mind and the hearts of people are more long term, I find.
But I think every
So far.
every filmmaker is going on a very different path. Mine's very different. Mine's is very different. I've decided not to use actors. She's using actors, so.
Yeah, using actors is really interesting for me, because I get to share all this her stories, and the actors also share parts of themselves as well, and their own story when we sit together and rehearse and we talk about this is the storyteller's name is Ruby, so we talked about Ruby's story and how we talked to Ruby herself as well, and find out about her past and how that affect the actors. Now when we came together and tell the stories, I think everybody was very inspired by Ruby, and we're all really happy to tell her story.